Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm happy to have you here with me today where we are going to be curing some pork belly. So last week or the week before, I shared with you a big freezer clean out that I did, and that I had 60 or 70 pounds worth of pork belly that I needed to process. So I did 21 pounds of it already, and I have another 21 pounds of it in the fridge to be able to get all cured up. 21 pounds fits perfectly in my smoker, which is why I'm doing it in that size of a batch. So we're going to run through that whole thing. And after we're done that, we're going to head outside and I am going to catch you up on some of the things that we are doing to prepare for this cold front that we have coming through. It is supposed to be negative 43 degrees, my friends. I'm Canadian. I'm used to cold weather, but negative 40, and that's not even including the wind chill, is really, really cold. And what's going to make it feel even colder then, I don't know that negative 43 degrees could feel any colder than negative 43 degrees, but we have not had any time to acclimatize to it. We have had a much warmer than usual winter without any snow even. It's been above freezing many days over the last couple of months. And not only have we not really had a chance to acclimatize to it, but our animals haven't either, and that's what has me worried. So I'm going to show you all the things that we do to prepare for really cold weather like this to help keep our animals more comfortable. I'm just going to grab our bacon out of the fridge here. This bacon was frozen, and so I have thawed it in the refrigerator, and now we're going to get it cured, and then it will go back in the fridge for 3 to 4 days to have that salt really penetrate, and all the flavorings I'm going to give it really penetrate into the meat, and then we're going to smoke it. But that will be in the next video. Before we get into curing this bacon, I wanted to share something that I am super excited about. A little bit nervous about it because it's a launch of something new, but I'm really excited about it, and that is my brand new website, which I will put a link for you down in the show notes. On my website, I house my blog, and that's where I share tons of free information, and my membership community and my store are also housed there. So my membership community is very similar to Patreon. For those of you that are familiar with Patreon, it's just housed on my own website. I share tons of information that are homestead related, cooking from scratch related, all the fun stuff that I do here on my channel. We also do a Zoom call every month where we get together as a community and talk about whatever's gone on during the month, troubleshoot challenges and things like that. I am offering something entirely new for 2024, which I'm really excited about, and that is a 30-minute one-on-one call when you sign up to my membership community with me. And the purpose of this call is so that we can get a chance to get to know each other, and I can learn a little bit more about you and what your needs are so that I can try to best fulfill them within the community, and I am super excited about that. The reason that I am so excited about it is because it gives me an opportunity to see your face, which is really nice, and to be able to have a conversation with you, and to be able to tailor my content to better suit your needs. So I am very excited about that. So I do have a link for both the website and the membership community down in the show notes if you would like to go and check it out. And please do not hesitate to send me a DM over on Instagram or drop a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions about it at all. Even if you are not interested in the membership community, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be showing up here just as I always have, sharing all of the content that I do here on YouTube. But I would encourage you to go and check out the website because, like I said, there's all kinds of free information available there as well. So now let's get into curing this bacon. We are going to be adding some paprika to our cure. We are going to be adding some black pepper, a little bit of maple syrup, and of course, salt. So I am not using pink curing salt, which is probably what you're used to seeing people cure with. I stopped using pink curing salt a couple of years ago for curing my bacon and my hams as well, and I'm really happy with the product. But the recipe that I'm going to share with you today does have an option for adding the pink curing salt if that's something that you want to do. So I do have these 1 pound packages here, and the reason for that was a typo on my part when I sent in the instructions to my butcher. I'm not sure why I did that. Normally I'll get it in a big slab and then cut it up myself after. But the one benefit of having 1 pound pieces like this is it makes measuring my salt to meat ratio really easy because I don't have to weigh my meat because I already know each piece is 1 pound. So I am doing 21 pounds here. So I'm going to do 1 1/3 cups of salt, and I'm going to add a little bit extra because the last time I did it, I had just enough cure to get the last piece done, but I don't want to run out at the last piece. So I'm going to add just a little bit of extra. So I am just using Redmond real salt for this, but you could use any kind of finely ground, even slightly coarsely ground salt that you like, as long as it's non-iodized. So there is our salt in our big bowl. The amount of pepper and paprika that you use in your cure is completely dependent upon your taste preferences. And what I like is 4 tablespoons, mounding tablespoons of black pepper, and I'm probably gonna sneeze, and the equal amount of paprika. So you can use plain paprika or smoked paprika. Smoked paprika is really nice. So we're gonna do the same thing here. So 4 tablespoons. And then we need some kind of sweetening. And in this case, I am going to use brown sugar, but you could use white sugar if you like as well. And I'm also going to add a little bit of maple syrup. So I am adding 1.5 cups of brown sugar to this cure, and then we are going to mix it all together to make sure that our salt is well incorporated in with our sugar. Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta back up. Oh, that is very peppery. You want to have some Ziploc bags ready, and this is best done with a helper, which I do not have today, but somebody to help hold the bag open for you to load the bacon into. So I'm just gonna get myself a bowl to sit here to put my bags in. This just makes it easier to load in if it's sitting in a bowl like that. And we're going to open up our bacon. I'm also gonna grab my garbage can to put here so I can put this paper straight into the garbage can. So one of the other things that I'm going to do is sharpen my knife. 1 second. So one of the other things that I'm going to do is sharpen my knife. 1 second. I always get asked about my knives and how I keep my knives sharp, and I use a steel. So my butcher, who actually did this butchering, taught me this a long time ago and said that when you are using a knife, the edge of the knife itself starts to warp just ever so slightly. And the purpose of the steel, you hold it at a 45-degree angle and run it along like this, is actually to straighten out that blade. It isn't to sharpen it. A sharpener itself, you really shouldn't, he was telling me, you really shouldn't have to really sharpen your knives. And even him, as with his career being a butcher, every 6 months to a year or so, as long as you use a steel. And it really does make a huge difference. My dad was a butcher too, and he was able to do this part, like, you know, like really, really fast. I am not one of those people. I go slow. I want to make sure my angle is right. And it usually only takes around 10 swipes of the steel. And make sure you get a good quality steel as well. And it's honestly shocking. You'll use the steel on a knife that feels like it's totally dull, and it will be nice and sharp again. So we are going to, I'm just cutting my pieces in half here because they fit better into my Ziploc bag. So now what we want to do is cover the heck out of our bacon. I'm going to get it right covered, right up. And whenever I'm doing big slabs, there's usually some cracks in the bacon, or just like an area where there's space that you can actually wedge some of the cure inside of there, and you really want to do that. So we're covering it all up. You can shake off the excess and get it into our bag. And what we're going to do once all of this bacon has had its cure bath is we're going to put it in the fridge. And normally for larger slabs of bacon, I will cure them in the fridge for 7 days. And multiple times throughout the day, I'll flip them over. So they'll be in their bag, and I just flip them over this way so that way the cure evenly distributes. But because these are smaller pieces, excuse me, it's not going to take as long for the cure to penetrate the meat. We are going to do it for 3 days instead. I don't want to overfill this bag because when I lay it flat, I kind of want the pieces to lay in the bag and for the bag to lay relatively flat. So this is going to be sufficient. I am just going to finish this now, and when I'm done, I'll be back with you to show you the next step. So I have 2 large trays here, and I'm going to take my pork, squeeze out the extra air, and lay it as flat as I can get it. So getting these all flat like this just allows you to have a lot of the surface area of your meat covered with the brine on the bottom. And then, like I mentioned, a couple times a day you'll flip it over so that it can cover all surfaces of your pork evenly. And I just realized I didn't actually add any maple syrup to this. And I often do add maple syrup, but that's okay because I can just baste it with some maple syrup when it is in the smoker. We got a new, it's called a Pit Boss. I think Sportsman is the brand smoker. It's like a barbecue kind of style smoker. We've never had one before. I've used the Big Chief, just the big rectangle kind of basic smoker before. But one of the disadvantages of that kind of smoker in our climate is it's really hard to get the internal temperature of the bacon up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is where you want it at when you're smoking, when it's cold in the wintertime here. But with this new barbecue, I can smoke even when it's really cold. Maybe not negative 43, but when it's like it is today, which is only -5, I can get it to nice and warm inside of that barbecue, which is fantastic. Okay, just about done. This is a fairly quick process, and normally I like to cure my pork belly when it's fresh, so don't freeze it first, but that's just the way that it worked out this time. Not ideal, but still gonna work. So I'll catch you up on some of the different meals that we've been doing for the Pantry Challenge. So we're participating in the 3 Rivers Challenge, which is a pantry challenge that goes on for the month of January and February. And the way that we're taking on the challenge, it can be done, of course, any way that you want it to. But we are not going to, still have a bit of air in there, we are not going to the grocery store at all for the next couple of months. And it's been an interesting experience, actually, so far. Dan and I have talked about it quite a bit. Dan has found it so far to be a huge money saver, and it really has been, because we have not been ordering pizza. We usually order pizza every couple of weeks. We have not been going out and getting any kind of fast food. So normally we don't go out and get fast food collectively as a family very often at all, because it's like $130 when we do. But when Dan goes to town, which he does all the time, he often does. And he has found that he is saving a ton of money by not doing that at all. So we're also not ordering in, we're also not eating fast food. So I'll finish that thought in a second, but first we're gonna get this put into the fridge. We can actually stack these right on top of each other. So the pressure of this meat on the meat below is not going to cause any issue. So I'm gonna get those put into the fridge. And like I said, they will be refrigerated for the next 3, maybe 4 days. And I'll show you when we are going to take this out and smoke it in a couple days, how you can tell if your pork is cured and if it's ready for the smoker. I had a bunch of gift certificates that I had saved up from West Coast Seeds. That's where I buy a lot of my gardening stuff and my seeds and all of that. I had already ordered all my seeds for the year. So I went on and ordered a bunch of fun stuff, or stuff that I normally wouldn't order this time of year, but things that I still needed nonetheless. So this isn't all of it, but I thought it might be fun to show you some of the things that I got. So I've used these in my garden before, but they're just plastic markers that are really great. They actually last well, and then I just use a wax pencil crayon to write on them. So I got some of those. Some more bags. I like to use these bags for storing beets and turnips and potatoes in my root cellar, and I needed some new ones. A spray nozzle, a brand new fancy dancy spray nozzle. I am notorious for killing hanging baskets. not only killing hanging baskets, but killing houseplants. I'm not sure why, when I love plants as much as I do and I love gardening as much as I do, I cannot keep hanging pots alive. But I saw this, and this one is specifically for doing pots because it's curved on the top like this so I can hold it and water. I was kind of hoping that having this fancy new wand would encourage me to water more diligently. So I think I mentioned this in a video, I can't remember, but I don't normally use covers, domes like this on my seeds when I'm starting them, but I had one that I tried, when was this? I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago when I was starting some microgreens. And for germination, it was fantastic because the humidity level is very low in my house. I have wood heat, but also just the climate that we live in, there's not a lot of humidity in the air. And I have to water my seedlings constantly. And it was really nice to be able to have these on because it cut down my watering by half at least. The only thing about them though is I do find that after I don't know, 4 or 5 days, or when the seeds actually germinate, that mold starts to develop pretty quickly if these stay on. You can get them ventilated, which I'm kind of regretting that I didn't order the ventilated ones now, but I'm just going to cut some little slits in the side to offer a little extra ventilation. The goal of these though is to use them for germinating more than anything else. I'll take them off after everything's germinated. There's some more markers for the garden. And then I was telling you the other day that with my sprouts, these ones were my favorite lids and I only had one of them. Actually, speaking of sprouts, let me show you our sprouts. We've eaten almost all the sprouts actually. These are the only ones that we have left. These were the mixed ones. So you only want to keep them in your fridge for 2 to 3 days or so. This is day 3, so I'll make sure that these get used up today. But we used them on chicken melt sandwiches. So chicken with mayonnaise and chopped onions and things like that. A little bit of cheese on top and then the sprouts on top of that. It was absolutely delicious. But anyways, I want to do a lot more sprouts. Did I only buy 2? I thought I bought more than 2. Oh, there's another one. There it is. So I wanted a couple more of these lids. The only thing that I did find with these lids compared to the green one that I just showed you on that jar is that there's a lot more airflow with these. So you do have to rinse them off a little more frequently, especially at the beginning so that the seeds don't dry out. But good airflow is actually really good as far as from a bacteria growth perspective. And these are really easy to clean and disinfect as well. So I'm happy with that. And then I have never used these before. These are tomato clips. I always just use straight up yarn, usually a cotton yarn. And I like that because it's soft on the plants and it is really easy to rip the plants out and rip that off by the end of the season. And then I can just throw it into my compost. When I saw these on the website, I remembered that many people had recommended these clips to me over the years. Actually, I do a lot of filming in my high tunnel where I grow all my tomatoes in the summer. And a lot of people had recommended these little clips. I use cattle panels for trellising, and I thought these would be really, really handy, and they are reusable. I hope that they're going to be able to hold up with the heat of the high tunnel, but they are designed for it. So I got a bag of these to try. I would need way more than these if I was going to use these exclusively, but I just wanted to try them first before I bought too many. We are going to be starting to grow some of the woody herbs here in the next couple of weeks, and by the time we hit mid-February, we're going to be in seed starting full swing, which is very, very exciting. So this is a nice kind of little gift to myself to kick off the gardening season. So on that note, let's get bundled up and head outside. Like I said, it's not too cold out right now, but let's just check the weather forecast here. We have a snow warning, of course, a snowfall warning. So it's -3 degrees right now, -17 tonight, and this is all in Celsius, -17 tomorrow, then -28 tomorrow night. I'll put this up on the screen, but minus 26. So daytime temperatures are minus 26, minus 28, minus 31. And then the nighttime temperatures are the real kicker. Minus 28, minus 34, minus 43. So that one is for Friday, minus 40 Saturday, and then it starts to warm up again, minus 29 on Sunday. So that's when you layer, when you go outside. I'm going to talk when we're outside about what we do with our animals to help keep them safe when it's really cold. But what we do is limit the amount of time that we spend outside. When it is that cold, you can actually freeze your lungs within a very short period of time. So we always have scarves. Of course, any young kids don't go outside at all when it's that cold. We try to make sure we stock up our firewood downstairs in the basement so we're not having to open and close the door to trek in and out to have the furnace going. What else do we do? Dan is actually going to be picking up some new board games today so that we have something to do over the weekend when it's too cold for the kids to be going outside. So there's lots of video games and board games and movies and reading and all that kind of stuff that happens because you just don't go outside when it's that cold. So I'm going to go grab some gloves, a toque, and a jacket, and I'll be right back. Let's start with Miss Maple. Hey, sweet girl. Such a good girl. Our livestock guardian dogs are Great Pyrenees, and Pyrenees are really well adapted to cold temperatures. In fact, they prefer cold weather. They do not like it when it's hot. They actually struggle more and are more at risk of any health issues if it is hot outside than when it's cold. That being said, when it gets really cold, I make them come in the house, and I literally have to force them. They don't like coming inside, and so what we try to do is find a cool place for them to be. Snow is blowing right in my face. A cooler place for them to be in the basement because they can overheat. They have a double coat, so a really thick insulative coat next to their skin and then a longer hairs on the top, so they can overheat really quickly. One of the other options that we have for them if they get too hot in the house is to bring them in the shop over here. We also have a shop cat too, so we have a wood stove and electric heat in here. But for our shop cat Nala, let's see, is she in here? Nala! No, she's gone out. There's a cat door so she can get in and out, but we do have a heated bed over here behind the wood stove, so it's just a heated bed that's specifically designed for animals, so it's safe, it's not going to cause a fire or anything, and then a blanket on top so she can curl up on this as well to keep warm. We also have a litter box in here for her as well, so then when it gets really, really cold outside, she doesn't have to go out there and freeze her little paws. We have another little cat house. I'll put a picture on the screen here of what it looks like. It's up at the house unless I remember when we go back up there to show you. Barn cats are an essential, integral part of having a homestead, and so are livestock guardian dogs, at least in our setting where we have lots of wildlife around. But because we are dealing with livestock and then we have grain all over the place, the rodents would get out of control, the rats and the mice, if we didn't have cats. But we, of course, want to make sure we provide them with warmth when it's really cold. Here we are at one of my favorite buildings. This is the chicken coop. This old chicken coop was built in the 1930s, give or take a few years. We're not entirely sure what its vintage is, but it's old. It even has clay chinking in between the logs. So the coop itself is made out of log, nice thick logs on the roof. So it's really warm in there. I'll take you in there in a second. But we also have this outdoor covered run here. They have a door that goes out to the outside pen as well, but we keep that closed in the winter time. But this way the animals can get outside, they can get some fresh air, and when the sun shines through here, they can get a little bit of sunshine in the wintertime, but they don't have to get their feet cold in the snow. Chickens do not like walking through the snow, at least mine don't. And then in over here of the chicken coop, so you see we have a light here, and this is just an LED bulb. I don't like putting heat lights or any type of light bulb that can get hot in a chicken coop because chicken coops are very, very dusty. I don't know if you can see all the dust. Yeah, you can. Very dusty places. And that dust can accumulate on heat lights and start a fire. It's actually not uncommon at all for barns and chicken coops to burn down because of heat lights, so we don't use them in our chicken coop. But because it is so well insulated in here being log, my chickens stay nice and toasty. So there is this window over here. I can see that there is a need for a little bit more insulation in the window, but this window is usually open all the time unless it starts getting really cold like this. And then we put feed bags over it and stuff it full of insulation just so that it keeps it a little bit warmer in here. We do have ventilation in the chicken coop, however, because humidity is one of the main things that can actually harm chickens in chicken coops in the wintertime. They're actually very well suited for cold weather. When a chicken fluffs up their feathers in the wintertime, what they're actually doing is collecting air that goes in underneath inside of their feathers and creates just a little bit of an insulative barrier between their skin and the outside air, which I've always thought was kind of cool. But we have really hardy breeds of chickens. We have Barred Rocks and Partridge Chanticleers and a couple of other mixed breeds. And then we've been kind of creating our own barnyard flock of chickens over the years, and they are very hardy little chickens. We also, of course, keep the nesting boxes full of fresh hay. And then on the ground of both the run out here and the chicken coop, we have a thick layer of wood shavings to keep the ground insulated for them. But it's funny because even though it's a lot warmer in there, most of the chickens hang out here. See you later, ladies. As far as protecting the chickens in this kind of weather, there's a few things. Making sure that they are protected from drafts. So cold drafts blowing on them at night, that can definitely do them in when it's this cold. Humidity, so make sure you have ventilation in your chicken coop. It's a bit tricky to do ventilation and no drafts at the same time, but keep your ventilation holes in your roof or vents or whatever away from where their perch is. Allowing them to have some kind of undercovered area that they can get outside and get some fresh air, if you can do that, is fantastic. And then of course changing out water all the time, because even with tank heaters, which we have in all of our water tanks, when it is as cold as it's going to get here, they will freeze anyway regardless. So we always, at least 3 times a day, we'll go and refresh the water so that they always have some water to drink. Where should we go next? Let's go see the sheepies. The sheep make me happy. They're just such beautiful, lovely animals. And I had mentioned in one of my videos a couple weeks ago that we just love sheep, and they are non-aggressive. What I had said in the video is that they're just non-aggressive and so sweet-tempered, and they don't challenge fences and all these wonderful things. And someone pointed out to me that rams can actually be really dangerous. And I have heard that, but lucky for us, our ram is a gentleman, and he has not tried to do anything harmful to anybody, which is really good. So this is one of my ladies here. She's just a sweetie, aren't ya? And then my ram is right there, and he's a love. And then 3 more ladies in the back, and all of these girls are bred. Cannot wait to have some lambs. I hope we get a couple of the darker ones like these ones. Hi, honey. As you can see, these guys have covered area to stay protected with lots of thick bedding. But the biggest advantage that these guys have going for them is those thick, beautiful wool coats. This kind of temperature is not going to faze these guys in the least. When we get close to lambing, they are due to lamb at the end of February, so it is potential that we'll have cold weather. And if that's the case, then these girls are going to go into the barn. I want them to lamb in the barn anyway, just because I can keep a close eye on them. And they are all first timers except for one who ended up losing her lamb. Her lamb was stillborn last year. So I want to keep a really close eye on these ones for their first time. We have an old horse. So later on today, we're actually bringing her up to this area so that she can be in the undercovered area on the other side by where the sheep are. She is almost 27 and just getting up there in the years. So we want to make sure that she has cover and unlimited access to feed. Okay, I'm going to try to sneak up on my pigs here because as soon as they hear me, they're going to want to come out. But I want you to see how they're sleeping. So as you can see, there's 2 pigs in there. The pigs burrow right underneath hay, just like this. And because this hay has been building up over the last couple of months. It's composting in underneath. So when they get up out of there and it's cold, steam will just come out of there, showing how nice and warm and toasty it is underneath. So as long as they have protection from the snow falling on them, and they're under this big roof here, but we have this extra board here just so that if the wind is blowing in, the snow's not going to blow on them. So it's a little pig nest. I don't even know where the other one is. She's really tucked in there. I can't even see her. So they will stay toasty warm in underneath there. Heritage pigs, so they do have a little bit more fur than the regular pink pig you're probably used to seeing, but that's not what actually keeps them warm in temperatures like this. It's the thick layer of fat that they have underneath their very thick hide that actually keeps them warm. And then of course some type of extra protection from the elements, like this big pile of hay here. So that is the chickens, the sheep, the pigs. Who else? Oh, I have my rabbits in here. So my rabbits are usually in rabbit tractors outside. We have 2 pet rabbits and they are in this rabbit tractor inside of the barn so that they are really protected from the elements. Hello, Mama. That's Grandma Rabbit. She is 6, I think. And then this is one of her babies from a few years ago. The rabbits are kind of similar to Great Pyrenees from the perspective that they are more in danger from heat than they are from the cold. So really freezing temperatures, -40, nothing really does well when it's that cold. But as far as regular kind of cold winter temperatures, rabbits do just fine as long as they're protected from the elements and they have good bedding. So did I say this about feed earlier? I can't remember. But one of the things that we do this time of year is to free feed all of our livestock. So the chickens always get free fed. But the pigs get fed twice a day. But this time of year, when it's cold like this, we free feed them because having an active digestive system when you're cold actually helps to warm you up a little bit. And there's nothing worse than being cold and hungry at the same time. We have some of my favorite animals. This is Oreo. He is not friendly at all. He came out not really very interested in people. Hi, buddy. Hello. This is Miss Freya. Oh no, somebody pooped in the lick bucket. What the heck? Let me clean that out for you, okay? One of the cows pooped in their lick tub. So this is a protein lick tub, and we put a protein lick tub out for our cows and our horses when it's cold like this. I'm not really sure if it helps, but it is a little bit of added protein and they sure love it. Lots of molasses in there. So I'm going to rinse that out for them. But before I do that, let's just head down here quickly and I'll show you what we do for feed. Cows and horses in the wintertime always get free fed, and we kind of go a little overboard when it comes to filling their bale feeders. We usually will put 2 bales of hay in 2 feeders side by side. So you can see there's one here and there's one over here. And there's a couple motivations for doing this. We don't have a huge herd. 8, 9, 9. I have 9. But they like to lay down in this area with all the extra waste hay that they take out of the feeders around each of the feeders. And having 2 feeders allows us to have enough of that packed, nice area for sleeping for all of our livestock. Our livestock also have the option of going up into this forested area here, which provides them with shelter and protection from the wind. And this old girl over here, this is our old girl Ivy that I was talking about. So she is going to go up to beside the barn. So the other thing that I am going to do, where is she? Oh, she's up over here. So I have a calf that was born 6 weeks ago. And she hasn't had an opportunity to grow a thick coat like all these other cows have. Here, let me show you this girl. This is Fern. So this is Fern's mama right here. And as you can see, Fern is a fluffy butt. Hi, Fern. Hi, sweet girl. How are you doing? Looks just like her mama, don't you? But yeah, she has a nice thick fuzzy coat, whereas Miss Blossom over here doesn't. So I'm actually going to put Blossom and her mama, who's Milkweed, in the barn during this cold snap at night. Normally she gets separated from her mom at night and we milk in the morning, but I want her to have access to her mom's milk 24 hours a day when it's really cold, for the same reason we free feed our animals. So this little one, that's Fern. She's being shy. So this is the kind of heater, tank heater that we have in our tanks. We have one in the pig tank over there as well. I find these ones just work better over the long run than the floating ones, even though the floating ones have the advantage of keeping an area open on the surface of the water tank. They just break almost every time. So anyways, yes, little Miss Blossom, she'll go in the barn at night with her mom because it's a little bit warmer in the barn, but they're fully protected from the wind there, and I just don't think she's going to be able to make it through -40 if she's out exposed to the elements. Number one kind of takeaways: free feeding them, making sure that their water is checked regularly throughout the day. We also do health checks, so every time we go fill a water bucket or feed them, we always check to make sure everybody's looking okay and nobody's struggling too much. There's been many a time that we have had a animal up in the house, like a pig or a chicken or a rabbit up in the house. I think we even had a calf in the house once that was struggling in the cold weather. So keeping a really close eye on them. You can give them a little extra protein in their feed, so you can give some scratch to chickens, some, like our pigs get tons of household scraps. They're also being free fed, and then the protein lick tub for the cattles. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye. Hey, Maple.